Hey, welcome to my channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please comment below. Thanks for watching. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make floating shelves. I'm using common board or common pine, which you can find at either Home Depot or Lowe's. The first thing you're going to do is cut your boards to size and then add glue along the edge. I'm going to actually show you another way to do these. This is just the easiest way you can do it. The next one that I show you is using a miter. So after this, I'll show you how to make these floating shelves using a 45-degree miter. So after you spread your glue, you're going to get a bunch of clamps and start clamping this together. The bottom was a little unstable because the clamps were underneath it, so I added a clamp and then nailed it in. And if you notice, I'm holding my nail gun upside down, and the reason why I'm doing that is because if you miss, you will want the nail to come out of the wood on the inside of the shelf, not on the outside. You don't want it to come out the top or the bottom, because then the nail hole will need to be patched. I did the top portion of the shelf the same way. Just add a bunch of glue and then some clamps, and then get your 18 gauge brad nail gun and start nailing it on. And after you nail it in, there's really nothing else to do other than just waiting for the glue to dry. Like I said, just make sure you get enough clamps so that that gap is completely tight. You don't want any gap at all between your boards. Otherwise, when you go to stain this, you're going to see that glue. The glue does not absorb stain at all compared to the wood, so you want that nice and tight. Okay, here's the little bit more advanced way of making these floating shelves. This will make it so the seam is right on the corner of the floating shelf. Some people say it blends in a little bit better and you don't notice it as much. So you're going to set your table saw at 45 degrees and you're going to cut every side of the board. This is the bottom and the top that I'm cutting right now. You're going to cut 45s on both sides. And you're going to do the same thing for the front of the shelf. Cut 45s on the top and the bottom, and if you have any side pieces on your shelf, then you're going to want to do 45s on those as well. A good way to make these cuts so you're not wasting any material is you take the width of your board and subtract it by the thickness of your board. So in my case, the width was 3.5 inches and the thickness was 3/4 of an inch. Subtract that and you get 2 3/4 inches thick. That's what you're going to set your table saw at. So when gluing these together, it's essentially the same process as you did before, except for now you have 45-degree angles to work with. So what I did was I just put them together and then used a brad nail gun and just put a few nails in there, and then afterward I got my clamps and clamped it together real tight. So it is a little tricky with clamps unless you have some sort of corner clamp. You're going to just want to make sure you clamp it both down and across, and you're going to want to alternate that so that you don't pull it too far off of alignment. So just to let you know, it does take a lot longer to do these miter joints. I do think it looks better, but I really don't think it looks that much better to put all the time and effort in. But if you are looking for like a solid wood look so that the shelf looks like it's one piece of wood, then this is probably the way you should go. But it does take a lot longer, so just warning you on that. After you get it all together and it's nice and tight, you're going to want to get some spacers for support and just put them in the middle, and that's what you see me doing here. I just put some spacers and then nailed them together. And then I got my router and just did a corner round over bit on all of the edges just to make it nice and smooth. I think it made it look a lot better. And then I just went over the whole thing and filled any cracks or any nail holes with putty. Then of course my favorite part, sanding. If you really want a good finish on these, you're going to want to start off with 120, then move up to 150, and then finally 220 grit sandpaper. After that you can go ahead and stain it. So here's what it looks like using the butt joint. and you can clearly see there is a line on top of the shelf, and there will be one as well on the bottom, which is okay if you're okay with that. But here's what it looks like with the miter joint. That joint is right on the corner, and it's a lot less noticeable. Here's on the edge, and you can't even really see the line at all. It kind of blends in with the wood nicely, makes it look like it's just one solid piece of wood. But it's really just a personal preference. If you don't mind the line, then it doesn't matter. Or if you're going to paint these, it really doesn't matter at all. If you're going to stain them, you know, it's just a personal preference. So whatever you decide, doesn't matter. This one, like I said, the miter joints were a lot harder and took a lot longer, but they really turned out great. Anyone can do it. Alright, so here's a trick that I learned with sanding. This is what I do in between each grits. I just take a pencil and I kind of go along the whole board, and then I sand until I can't see the pencil marks. And that's kind of how I know that I've sanded enough in between each grit. So just a little tip for you guys, because I hate sanding. So here's what it looks like after sanding all of the different grits. And then what I do after that is I use a pre-stain treatment, and this one is for oil-based stains, but they also make them for water-based. This one is, I believe, Miniwax, and you just apply it. Don't put too much on there, you don't want it dripping or anything, just apply it, and then you're going to wait, I believe, 20 minutes, and then apply your stain. I find that this pre-stain works really well on woods like pine that don't take stain very well, but this just, it makes a whole world of difference. So I decided to go with Miniwax's ebony color, and of course you can go with whatever color you want. This one just happened to match things in my house the best. What you're going to do is I used a staining sponge that I got from Home Depot, and just spread it evenly and then just wipe it off. Don't make sure that there is not too much stain on there, or else it will dry and it will not look very good. You're going to make sure you want to wipe off any excess stain, and just make sure you cover every spot, every speck, any little hole or knot, and then you can just let it dry. And here's the differences between those two joints when it's stained. That's the miter joint, and here's the butt joint. You can kind of still see that line, but it's not too bad. Then I use polyurethane. This one's water-based. So when you use water-based over oil-based stain, you're going to make sure that the oil-based stain is completely dry before you put the water-based polyurethane on. And then I just go ahead and coat it. And it kind of looks a little hazy when you put it on there, but it dries completely clear. This one, I believe, is satin. So here's what it looks like after you apply the polyurethane. It is a little hazy, but as it dries, it will get clearer. This one I did a few moments before, and it's already a lot clearer. The haziness has disappeared. And then these two I did before that one, and the haziness is almost gone. So just give it time, and overnight it should be clear. So this is how I made the wall mounts for these floating shelves. I got a 3.5 inch screw, and then got a vertical piece of 2x2 and a horizontal piece of 2x2, and then just screwed them together. And I did this all along the long 2x2, and just screwed these little short stubby 7-inch 2x2s to it. And this is plenty strong for hanging or putting pictures and stuff on the shelf. They do have metal ones that you can buy, but felt like that was unnecessary. And then what you're going to do to install these is just find your studs. And after you find your studs, you're going to want to mark them, and then transfer those markings onto your wall mount. And then I pre-drilled in the wall mount. Pre-drilling in the wall mount helped me hold the screws in while I'm holding everything else. Plus, you don't have to screw through the wall mount and then into the wall, so it makes it a lot easier. And then of course get your level, make sure everything's nice and level. And then once you get everything level, you're going to add some more screws into your studs just to make it nice and sturdy. Then double check for level and slide your shelf right onto it. And then to make sure these don't go anywhere, you're going to countersink, get some screws that kind of match your wood, and put them right through the 2x2. And that's what it looked like all installed. Very happy with it. This project took about a week to complete all 4 shelves, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.